What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. Now that it's been about a week or so since patch 5.8, the outcomes of the changes are starting to come to fruition, and I thought it would be cool to take a look at how the major buffs and nerfs have affected the champions. Let's get started. Now this is going to be my first time doing this, but if you like it and you want me to do it for every patch, definitely make sure to hit that like button so that I can tell that you enjoyed it. And note that the statistics in this video were taken from a mix of LoLKing and Champion.gg, and we looked at ranked solo queue statistics only. Anyways, our first change was the pretty major Rise overhaul. He received a pretty big update and was initially pegged to make him a little bit stronger at the highest level, but much more difficult to play and lane with overall. I initially thought he would actually be pretty good after testing him out, with the stipulation that he had a couple bugs in his kit that needed to be fixed, but it turned out that this ended up being not really the case, and his win rate dropped by about 7%. Now whether this is a cause of bugs not being fixed or him actually being bad is kind of a toss-up. It's most likely a little bit of both. It looks like he really has become much more difficult to play, and his changes overall have hurt him by quite a bit. I'd like to see him receive some more utility-based and quality of life changes to make up for it, but we'll see what happens, since I think his kit overall actually does have a lot of inherent power in it already. Next up was the change to Blitzcrank's Overdrive that buffed it in a pretty decent way, and it looked like the buff paid off pretty well as his win rate rose by about 2%, putting him in a pretty nice spot. He's dropped a lot from his still crazy high 55% a few patches ago, but it looks like with this change the nerfs to him are finally starting to settle out to a balanced state. Next up we have Dr. Mundo, whose cleaver was changed to refund the cost after killing a unit. I personally thought that this change would be really significant since it fixes a huge problem in his laning, and it looks like I was probably right since his win rate did rise by about 3%. He's still in the negatives at 48% win rate, but I think his kit is a lot better as a whole now, and he definitely has the potential to see some play at the competitive level. Next up we have the Jinx nerf, and this one I think is really interesting because there was quite a fuss around the change, and it was originally thought to be a pretty significant change, but her win rate only dropped by 0.5%, which really isn't significant at all, to be honest. I think the thing that happened is that her ultimate was never really her main strength. Her main strength is having the area of effect damage on her auto attacks, as well as having a lot of utility in her kit inherently. The ultimate was kind of just a bonus feature that helped out a bit. And the thing is that the change really only hurts her ultimates in lane, since in teamfights you would usually be able to get off long range ultimates anyways. And the thing is that her laning phase was never really great anyways, and she's still succeeded despite that. So this change doesn't really affect how she's going to win games, and overall has proven to be a much smaller nerf than it would appear to be on paper. Kha'Zix received a pretty decent increase to his sustain. It fixed a major problem that he had in the jungle, and as such his win rate has risen by about 2%. It's still fairly low though, but that's mainly due to the fact that Kha'Zix doesn't really benefit from building Cinderhulk, and so he has to take some suboptimal build paths for a jungle champion. It's going to be interesting to see the direction Kha'Zix takes at the competitive level, since I at least think he's actually pretty strong now. Next up we have the Mordekaiser change, which was a major quality of life buff to his W. After this his win rate actually rose by about 3%, which is pretty big. It helps the fluidity of his kit by a lot actually, which I guess was a major problem for him before. Now I actually feel really bad about this one because I thought this change would be minor and insignificant, so I didn't actually cover it in my patch rundown, so I apologize for that. Fortunately I was wrong though, since Mordekaiser is an awesome champion and I think he's now pretty strong. After that we have the Scion nerf. It looks like it hit him decently hard as his win rate dropped by about 3 to 4% or so. He's definitely still viable, but he has been quite clearly dethroned from the god tier top lane champions, and is no longer ban or first pick worthy, since it looks like the nerf has hurt him quite a bit. Next up we have the Yasuo change. I initially thought this would be a really small buff, but a lot of people said it was a nerf. In the end it looks like it was a buff to top lane Yasuo, whose win rate rose by about 1%, and a nerf to mid lane Yasuo, whose win rate dropped by about 1%. His overall win rate wasn't really changed at all, and so it's interesting to see how this change impacted Yasuo depending on where you actually laned with him. However, I do think that looking back on it overall, it seems that it was a somewhat small nerf. And the last change I want to talk about was the update to Black Cleaver. This item has become super strong and has rose to have a pretty big influence on some champions, notably Wukong and Xin Zhao, who both had their top lane win rates rise by about 1.5% despite receiving no major changes to their champions at all. This item overall is quite impactful, and it's cool to see the statistics affect champions like this. Anyways, my name is Jeremy, and that's it for my video on the statistics of patch 5.8. Definitely make sure to hit that like button and let me know if you want to see more of these in the future. Hey guys, it's me, Jeremy. Thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, definitely make sure to hit that like button so I can tell, and if you're interested, definitely check me out on all the socials, of which you can see over there. And if you really enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe for some more awesome content in the future, as well as you can check out some of my other videos up here and over there. Anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.